Hi everyone, let's talk about Beyond the Rift, the Perdition's Mouth card game, which again is on Kickstarter right now. Campaign page is in the description if you'd like to see all the final stuff. This is prototype stuff that I've got with me now, and if you haven't seen it yet, I did a full playthrough of the first scenario of the game, linked in the description too. This is just what I think of the demo kit, basically, if you are interested in that. If it's just the play you're after, it's linked in the description. So this takes mainly, the story and the setting and the look of Perdition's Mouth and transposes it into this card game form. So it's still got that setting. It's still got that dark fantasy feel to it. And I think while, it's not a great big dungeon crawl rondel Euro-y kind of mixture, you know what I mean? See the Perdition's Mouth ones if you haven't seen Perdition's Mouth yet. But yes, it manages to be this this dungeon crawly card game with a lot of differences in that we are, even though you have these set decks from your characters, you have a lot of freedom as to what you can do with them, and later on you'll be evolving them with different cards that will change them up. But how they play, it suits their characters. So Elisa, if you saw the playthrough, is ranged, can deal a lot of damage sometimes, but it's going to cost a load of action points, but has got ways of building up those action points by not doing actions or by making sure that she has a load of cards left over. She can gear up for massive turns with loads and loads of action points in the future. And Bastion, it can deal loads of close quarters damage, but he needs those enemies in front of him. He's got no range on his attacks. And the combination of just putting these characters together and letting them aid each other. We can take our turns whenever we like in the hero phase, and okay, if you do that, it lets me do this, and so I can do a couple of actions, then you can come in and do this thing and take this out. All of that works really well, and the cooperation is key all throughout the game. It's not just about you doing it all yourself. You have to say, I'm just short on this one thing. I'm just short an action point. Has anyone got anything that can let me get an action point? Or let me draw a card. I desperately need a primary attack card. It's all about the interplay between the characters and working out, you can manipulate, the target priority for the enemy, so you can manipulate who they're going to attack. Try and make them attack the tanky person, who's probably going to be drawing enemies towards them anyway. I really like the attack system, so you have to have I haven't got one drawn here. You have to have a primary attack, but then after it you can chain secondary attack effects and end up with, as I said, some enormous things where Elisa can do a great big attack to begin with, but then it can attack multiple enemies and also give her action points back and draw more cards and maybe put some of those cards back into her hand, which is going to be even better for doing more attacks in the future, maybe even this turn if she somehow has enough action points left. But also, cards in her hand give her more action points left, and so we'll gear her up for future turns as well. It really works beautifully, and the way that damage is dealt too, it's just one normally for the heroes, and we have these wound cards that will subtract from stats of enemies, so make them easier to engage or disengage, lower their range so they have to have engaged you to be able to attack you, or make it harder for them to hit you, easier for you to hit them, and ultimately you want to deal damage. So most of the cards in here are going to be 1 damage. There are some very rare cards that will do 2 damage in one big go and could kill a lot of enemies just off the bat, and some that do loads of damage to the stats. Like if you put fatigue on there as well, it's not going to do any damage, but it will just damage the stats. And so that's a nice element on top of it as well, that you can suddenly see that this really tough enemy, now we've only done 1 damage to it, which isn't enough, but now the defense has really been impacted, or the attack has been brought right down, so we can probably defend against it now, so it's not so much of a threat. So what do we do about this? The bone worm, if its attack gets through, does 2 cards worth of damage to it, and when it's a really nice kind of crossover of the systems as well, that these same wound cards that are doing damages to enemies by attaching them, by tucking them under like that, go into your deck, and basically when it comes to you discarding all of your cards, I really like that as well. I really like how we earn more action points and we get to just draw loads of cards and have the choice of what we want to get through, but it also means you are forced to get through your deck, especially if you're going to be drawing more cards with bonuses of action cards that you are playing. You're going to get through and getting through your deck faster, which means fatigue is going to be added to it. So that's another thing to think about. But yeah, you can't choose to discard these wound cards. You have to play them for their adverse things. So a neck injury, not too bad. You still get to defend, but you've got to put a wound card in your discard pile, making it even worse next time when that comes back around again. And they are just going to keep floating around through campaigns, basically, rather than just individual scenarios. Fatigue isn't so bad. It's still taking up space in your hand and in your deck, but you can choose to get rid of it just by spending some action points, and then it's just gone for the meantime anyway. Yeah, it's just... It works so well. It's still got that uncertain element. It's not just deterministic combat, but you can kind of see from the values that they have. And okay, in a really unlikely scenario, they might get a +5 on their response card for their defense. So maybe I want to put more into this, or I want to take the risk so I can attack more things. I feel like you've got a lot of control, even with the unknown element from the response cards in there as well. And say Bastion has got a load of cards like this that can be played after he's determined his attack. Most of the stuff you have to do before, but Bastion, if he doesn't quite hit, can add some of these secondary cards on later. And add on top of it that, if you are a bit short, you can be concerned about that before the attack and ask people if they, do you have any cards with enough range? Do you have enough action points to be able to contribute to this attack? It has to be, primary costs of cards, but you can end up doing some great big collaborative attack on really tough enemies, or, just enemies that you need to get rid of or need to engage at certain points, like the acolytes that are just going to keep raising the threat level in that particular scenario anyway. But yeah, as well, the terrain cards are a really nice touch for adding the thing of this scenario, this kind of environment that we are going through, but also adding little quirks in that's the rounds where you have the rubble up. It's going to be harder to engage and disengage enemies in that. So do you do that? Do you even bother doing it if it's going to cost most of your action points to do it? But at the same time, characters like Bastion, what's he going to do if he can't do that? Does he have cards that he can support other heroes with in that round, or does he just need to take the hit and just draw enemies to him for the increased cost? And the doors are a nice thing as well. You can pick them with a load of action points, or you can attack them and they get a bit of a response card as well. And that's the ultimate way that you can get through some of these things. It holds you up having certain terrain cards out there. I really like the stories that can be told from this base framework. And as I mentioned right at the end of the playthrough, that in the full scenarios we will have these item decks, and they will add really, really powerful things to your decks, but remove several good cards that have the same the same body part on them. Remove several cards from your deck, which could be finessing it, could be whittling it down to more essential cards, but could also be making it harder to actually get through the stars. So you've got to weigh up who is going to have these, how you're going to have to play differently once you've got them. Yeah, I think it works all absolutely beautifully. And just from the demo pack that I've got, I have massively enjoyed playing through the scenarios that we've got here. And yeah, it's it suddenly gets a lot tougher, I can assure you. But yeah, hopefully we'll be back going through more of this at some point, because yeah, in its final form, we can hopefully see what we can do to have some travels beyond the rift. But campaign page is in the description if you would like to see all of the final stuff and see how you can get involved if you have been intrigued in some way by the playthrough and would like to give it a go yourself. All the final stuff, how to get it, everything is in the Kickstarter link that is in the description now. Thank you very much for watching this. I'll be back very soon, I'm sure, with some more playthroughs and live things and stuff. Hope to see you there. Bye, everyone.